so-called flying saucers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. It's rotating.
Welcome to Kill the Stigma. So I just wanted to preface this video with, I'm sure it's not called MJ12, MJ27, but it makes sense throughout history that there's people at the 30,000 foot level, as these people say, that are in this movement as we speak. So I'm gonna make a video about it and tell me what you guys think. Now, this could be a psyop, or it could be partial disclosure, which is the same thing. I don't know. But it's fascinating how no matter what, the stonewalling, it's always strong. Whether it's Trump, Biden, doesn't matter who it is. At the end of the day, there's disclosure, like actual disclosure, what we know about the phenomenon never happens. Welcome to Kill the Stigma. Today I'm going to talk to you about MJ12, MJ27 now, whatever the hell is going on. So yeah, I was just at the gym and decided, why don't we do a little bit of deeper search on who are the gatekeepers that we know of that are in plain sight. And has this happened before? Is the pro-disclosure movement divided? Is it all a psyop? Is it partial truth, aka kind of a psyop? That's what I kind of think it is. I think that's what it is, but let's not get too much distracted into what I think. Let's start with the facts. In the 50s, there was a group doing the same thing that is happening right now, pushing disclosure. Nobody talks about this. They were called NICAP. Donald Kehoe. First director of the CIA, Roscoe Hillenkotter, was one of the most important members, but there was other people in the CIA. So think about NICAP like To the Stars Academy, okay? But who founded NICAP wasn't Donald Kehoe. His name was Thomas Thompson Brown. Now, I know these names are all boring. It's like Hillenkotter, first director of the CIA. What was he doing? Involved with UFOs. Thompson Brown, anti-gravity. It's gonna put you guys to sleep, and I don't want to do that. I actually want you guys to finish this video because I think it's important, because it shows the same exact thing and it's literally in plain sight. And I just wanted to talk about it. So I hope you guys actually finish this one through, because it's got some nuggets that you might have missed that have been there in plain sight. But look, it's up to you, but I think this is fascinating. So let's go.
Did you ever work in the Science and Technology Directorate?
As a contractor, I did, yes.
Yeah.
Very familiar with it. A great organization. I mean, I always call it the real CIA, because you would not believe what these people are capable of. There it is, incredible.
Yeah, people say it's like magic.
It's just beyond the pale. I mean, some of it is just you'd be very, very proud. I think,
So that is now present. Now, did you realize how James said it's like magic? Maybe he means like AMJIC, right? Not magic. Yeah, it's beyond the pale. So you know, you have Steve Justice, you have from Skunkworks, you have Jim Semivan, you have Christopher Mellon, Luis Elizondo, and you have the same thing happening in NICAP. So what happened? And let's go, please. I know it's yesterday's paper, the 50s. I get that. Who wants to read yesterday's paper? I know, but this is important because what happened was there was this guy called Edward Ruppelt who was head of Project Blue Book. He quit 1953, or after the whole CIA secrecy thing went down. He was done. But he wrote a book, which is like the eminent. Basically, it's the eminent of the 50s. Like, think Luis Elizondo eminent, but by like in the 1950s. Then that's when the whole effort started for a pro-disclosure movement, which eventually didn't make it. Things fell apart. In fact, Edward Ruppelt died at 37 years old of a heart attack. And right before he died, he had like the weirdest change of heart with UFOs and said that people were just crackpots, there's nothing to it, blah, 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 and then mysteriously gone, boom. 37, that's how old I am, and I don't know, it seems young, but for a heart attack. So anyways, what happened? Were people interested when that book got written? Well, let's see.
Starting that last paragraph here. It's part of the hype for Ruppelt's 1956 book. The intelligence community in Washington, D.C. held a well-publicized symposium for 4 days in June 1956. Everyone attended. Most of the top CIA officials. The German rocket scientist, paperclip, who would later achieve great fame with our NASA program and leading aviation industrialists such as William Lear. And so that's how NICAP began, with these people. And Thomas Townsend Brown was the founder. And then came Donald Kehoe after that. But Thomas Thompson Brown, what happened with him is, here, look, I'll put a small clip here. He blew all the money. Did he do that on purpose? I think he did. But yeah, these are boring names. You know, Thomas Thompson Brown, Roscoe Hillencotter. Who cares? I don't know. I don't want you guys to go to sleep, please. I know it's not that interesting.
Was happening. Maybe some of the paperclip scientists got us into transistors, things along those lines, fiber optics, and we developed a technology. We were using it. And then we took it a generation ahead, so the older generation was leaked into the commercial sector. Yeah, that's fine. Now, did we get it from aircraft? I mean, did we get it from a flying saucer from Roswell? Maybe, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure in your job if you ever dealt with technology acquisition at all, but were you ever involved with recoveries like a crash retrieval or some kind of technology recovery?
I did. I was involved. Most of my career was, I liked, you know, when the agency, you can actually develop an expertise, or you can develop a little niche that you could follow. And they usually, if they're good at it, they'll let you do it. And mine was high tech, and I loved high tech and technologies, weird, exotic technologies. But no, I had nothing to do with crash retrieval programs or UFOs at all. And I always like to laugh, and people would say, well, you know, do you know anything about CIA activities regarding UAPs? And I said, you know, 30 some years of working for them, I'd never seen a UAP office or, you know, or UFO office anywhere. And I mean, every once in a while you would hear people talk, you know, about
slip of the tongue there. And he's like straight up asked, are you, have you been involved with crash retrieval? He's like, yep, I have. And then he says that there's nothing, CIA's got nothing to do with UFOs, nothing. Yeah, in the Age of Disclosure, the movie that just came out, they say that's where the corporate structure is, like CIA is on the top, second Air Force is in the field operations, then you have the Department of Energy, and then you have the private contractors. So it seems to me if I had to guess, that guy, Jim Semivan, is 100%, if there is a Majestic or something like that, he's in there. He knows. He's got the 30,000 foot view of this topic. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad guy, but it also means he's definitely going to protect a bunch of national security stuff. And he might want to tell us the truth about, non-human intelligence. And he actually might know a lot. He might know a lot. Well, he obviously does know a lot more. But I'm saying there's a bunch of things he's not going to tell us. There's a bunch of things that, we can't trust him. Okay, we can't. But then it's the same dilemma, man, going way back. People want this partial disclosure, this partial truth, and then there's a war between people who want some truth, some not so much. Now, David Grush, why did he want to participate in the issue disclosure? Because he thinks this whole thing should be out. This is insane. Basically, we're talking about a shadow government here that overrode the government. And you can see it in Jim Semivan's interview with James Andoli. The way he talks, he's like, Congress does not have a need to know, who are you? This program has been in charge for having things under control, and now you get elected and you want to know, it's crazy. Like, he's basically talking like with this authority of, and then he says it's up to the president, but honestly, I don't even think it is. I think whoever this group is even more powerful than the president. And like I said, I don't think Jim Semivan's a bad guy. Let's change topics a little bit with Jim. Now let's go to the current MJ12, MJ27, whatever the hell. There.
So let's jump in. Now, in the movie, you discussed a plan that was under consideration by 27 people to have both you and David Grush taken out. Folks at home, I was aware of this when this was occurring, and I can tell you, separate of anything that Lou is about to say, that this is accurate. This is not an exaggeration. This is not fiction. This is absolute fact. And I think this goes to illustrate the danger that people like Lou Elizondo, like David Grush, put themselves under when they come forward like this. And anyway, so my question is, who are these people, or under what organization was this action being considered?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, let me preface this by saying this is my opinion. I consider this element very much like a shadow government. They're operating within the confines of their organizations, but their authorities are stemming from somewhere else. Obviously, they are not organizational authorities. They're some sort of legacy authorities. And it may be the reason why, everybody talks about, MJ12 not being real, or MJ12 is real, and whatnot. The reason why there's potentially plausible deniability, which is what I think, and let me preface that, is that the reason why they can say there's no MJ12 is because it's, MJ27 now, right? Or something to that effect. I'm not saying that is the case, that this MJ12 has evolved into MJ27, but I was told specifically that during a conversation of a specific individual on the Hill in a skiff with certain staffers of Congress right there in the skiff at the top secret level, having a very frank conversation that there was serious discussion within this body of 27 people to exercise extreme measures to keep people like me and Dave Grush quiet.
Another thing, look at this. This is how loyal Semivan is to the CIA. And I mean, everybody knows now that the Wilson-Davis memo is legit, right? The Admiral Wilson, 4 or 5-star admiral, you do not have any to know. In fact, in the age of disclosure, there was the guy that was the acting Secretary of Defense, and he went and he got asked about the UAP legacy program. They told him, you do not have a need to know. It's just insane, man. Can you imagine you're the Secretary of Defense and they tell you that? Dude. Anyway, so we know this is legit, okay? Like, but the age of disclosure, like I said, CIA is like the corporate. And still, even after all this time, Semivan still, he will not talk about that when he gets asked about Admiral Wilson Davis. Why not, dude? Like, everybody knows it. Mellon, Joel Elizondo, like, now that's out. And then there's nothing to the CIA. See, like, it's like, this is the thing about these people. A lot of people are in the UFO community, oh, this is psyop, don't listen, we were going to destroy the... Dude, they slip all the time. These people slip all the time.
And now today, President Donald Trump was asked about this.
I wanted to ask you about drones. We had the issue in New Jersey before the election where there are all these people thought UFOs or an attack of the killer drones.
Check out the initial response from President Donald Trump and tell me if he either slipped and then corrected himself or it was just a dumb mistake. And this interview was from June 9, 2025. The thing is, it was just made public today by UAP James. I hadn't seen it. So this is what Donald Trump said.
And I believe you're doing something about.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I know who, I can't tell you who it was and what it was, but yeah. I can't really tell you. I'd love to tell you actually, but it's not a big.
Did you see that? He said it's not up and then he corrected himself.
Deal.
It's not.
It's not a big deal, then he said. But
you know how many slips Jim Semivan had? Like, I could go on and on and on. It's probably the most. It's just like, it's frustrating to me because there's a lot to learn from this, you know. Look at Marco Rubio. He just got asked and he got nervous at the end. You know, the journalist blew it. Look, it's just frustrating to me. And if you don't care about disclosure, whatever, man, then you're selfish. You're selfish. Oh, I don't care. I think I owe my disclosure. Like, it's going to be a sign-up anyways. No, but dude, there's people out there that have been stigmatized, ridiculed their whole life. And they want this to be taken seriously because they've suffered. And if you don't see that being important because you don't care, then shame on you. You should care. Now, at this point, we're all blue-balled. We're all frustrated. I mean, I know that I can't even. It sucks because
There's the story of Admiral Wilson is getting read into this program, and he discovers that they're talking about a craft that's potentially operational, and that memo or transcript was provided to Congress. So do you think that there's any legs to that?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah. What do you make of the claims that David Grush made, saying that people have potentially died to keep this secret, that there's been retaliation against individuals who spoke out of terms in regard to the program? I mean, would and can the program do such things if they
yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if the program was, and I believe it was, I mean, I said if it was done under a presidential executive action document, the president then says to an agency or entity in government, you run this. And by the way, you're running it through these rules. And these are the guidelines. And that entity is then given extraordinary powers by the president to prevent this thing being leaked. For instance, somebody once asked somebody, flat out, "Is this program exist?" And the person just said, "Absolutely not." Well, as it stands, under certain restrictions, particularly regarding waived unacknowledged special access programs, that's the response you're supposed to give. No, doesn't even exist. You don't say no comment.
Right.
You say doesn't exist, and you're allowed to lie to anybody about it. I mean, this is part of the government, that functions. It's not a big part of the government. It's a very, very small part of the government, actually. But nevertheless, I'm sure this happened during, the Manhattan Project. So did people, were they retaliated against? I'm sure, absolutely. They were retaliated against in some form or fashion. Dave was. I mean, it was against Dave. Dave might have been more of an institutional retaliation. I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the full details about that, but it's not. I mean, once you go against that's why I'm very careful. It's like, I'm retired and everything like that, but but you have to be respectful also of the rules and the regulations to a certain extent. So, in David's case, I think there were extenuating circumstances, and he chose the path he chose, and I think he definitely moved the ball forward, no question about it. But you notice, what he says and what he doesn't say. He's an extremely bright guy.
In other words, yes, they can. They can kill people with American citizens, right? Like Alessandro Grush. And in fact, they've done it probably many times, including people in very high places. For example, one of the first Majestic 12, the first Secretary of Defense, James Forrestal. Very suspicious death indeed. Now, it's not 100% sure it's related to UFOs, but it's 90%, like 90 something. So, whatever this group of people are, they're very powerful, and, who knows what they're capable of. Now, I don't think they're going to kill David Grush and Elizondo, because that's it. Like, they wouldn't help their credibility at all. But may I ask why David Grush didn't go to prison in the hearings? Because I remember they took his clearance away, and Eric Burleson has been working hard, and I know he's got some clearances again, but he had all the clearances. Why didn't he go to prison? Why didn't he go to jail if they took his clearances away? Can somebody explain that to me? Because I'm confused. It's like, why not? Because, if they go to prison, that means kind of we win, right? Like, they're acknowledging that this is real. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Have a good one.